The film opens with a scene of a girl being chased by a group of soldiers. However, deep in this forest lies the mansion of the Dark Lord, so they decide to stop pursuing her. According to rumors, this Dark Lord hates humans, and anyone who dares to approach his mansion will be dealt with brutally. While the soldiers are temporarily thrown off track, the girl continues to run. As she runs, she feels guilty about her sister Natalia because she fled without leaving any message. Due to her haste, she slips and falls down a cliff, then loses consciousness. The next morning, a two-toned-haired man is reading a newspaper when he learns that the criminal from the neighboring country has gone missing. Suddenly, he senses a presence in the forest. Going deeper inside, he discovers animals gathering in one spot. The two-toned-haired man approaches and finds a girl there. Just as he picks her up, he realizes someone else is nearby. Immediately, he teleports behind a soldier who is hiding, then uses basic illusion magic to easily dodge his attack. The man recognizes that the soldier is a royal guard from the Kingdom of Niels. The high-ranking soldier demands that the man hand over the girl because she has committed a serious crime that disgraced the kingdom. If he obediently complies, the soldier won't harm him, but if he shelters the girl, there will be no mercy. Of course, how could a gentleman like him abandon an exhausted, pitiful girl? So when the group of soldiers charge to gang up on him, he freezes them with an ice-binding spell. Someone who can use magic without chanting, and who has black and white two-toned hair, he is the Dark Lord living in this forest. The Dark Lord continues to use the Nightmare spell to manipulate the soldiers' minds. In his mansion, the Dark Lord prepares many types of potions. A while later, the girl wakes up. The Dark Lord gives her a glass of water and tells her to drink. He has already investigated and knows she is Charlotte Evans, the fiancée of the second prince of the neighboring kingdom of Niels. Charlotte trembles and denies it, but he tells her not to worry. He can tell whether someone is lying just by looking into their eyes, and there is no deceit in hers. Suddenly, Charlotte's eyes well up with tears, making the Dark Lord think something is wrong. But she is just moved because it's the first time someone has believed her. After Charlotte calms down, she begins to tell the protagonist why she's being hunted by the kingdom. During a banquet, Prince Cecile called Charlotte up and accused her in front of everyone, while ordering her arrest for treason and announcing the cancellation of their engagement. Despite Charlotte's desperate defense, no one listened, and she was taken to a dark dungeon. After hearing this, the Dark Lord immediately realizes this is a plot by the prince. Charlotte thanks him for saving her life and decides to leave immediately, fearing she might cause him trouble. The Dark Lord interrupts Charlotte and asks about her cleaning skills. He wants to hire her as a maid who stays at the owner's house. Her job would be simple housekeeping, and he would pay her adequately along with providing meals. The house is spacious, so having one more person wouldn't be a problem. Charlotte warns him that she is a wanted criminal and hopes he will reconsider. The Dark Lord, because he didn't want to get involved with humans, had decided to live in seclusion deep in the forest. Getting involved with a wanted criminal goes against his purpose. Nevertheless, after some thought, he decides to lie to Charlotte, saying that he too was once betrayed. He introduces himself as Alan Crawford. 3 years ago, Alan was invited into a team, but unexpectedly, the teammates he trusted used him to break the seal of the Divine Temple. After obtaining the treasure, they abandoned him amidst a horde of monsters. Charlotte listens to Alan's story without any suspicion and feels sorry for him, making Alan think this girl is too naive. Because Alan has been treated that way before, he doesn't want to see Charlotte in a similar situation. Although very touched, Charlotte still fears causing trouble for Alan and refuses his offer. Out of options, the Dark Lord resorts to psychological manipulation. He places a death curse on himself, saying that until Charlotte agrees to work there, he won't remove this curse, and in 3 minutes his heart will stop beating. As time passes, he starts to have difficulty breathing. Charlotte turns pale with fear, and of course, in less than a minute, Charlotte agrees to stay and work at his mansion. The next morning, Charlotte has cleaned the mansion until it's spotless, which is unbelievable for a duke's daughter. Alan notices that Charlotte's fingers are calloused, suggesting she was treated like a servant at home. She thanks Alan for helping her sweep, and he also uses magic to burn the garbage. Charlotte wonders why he only has her doing light housework, and he explains that he lacks living skills. If he lived alone, he wouldn't even think about cleaning. Charlotte eagerly asks what else she needs to do, but Alan says that's enough. Now she can freely do whatever she wants until dinner time. She wonders if Alan isn't afraid she might steal things, but he replies that he went shopping for necessities yesterday, so there's no money left in the house. Alan tells her she can read books in the study or stroll in the garden as she pleases. Standing in front of the study, Charlotte is overwhelmed by the number of books. Now Alan needs to work, so he asks Charlotte not to talk to him. She obediently agrees and leaves. The truth is that Alan is an introvert, so Charlotte will soon get bored and leave. When that happens, he plans to leave some money in an easy-to-steal place for her. Alan's job is to read and edit magical theory research papers, then reject them all. That's why the academic world fears him and has given him the nickname Red Pen Demon. Absorbed in his work, Alan doesn't notice it's getting dark. He's about to turn on the lights when he sees Charlotte sitting and counting the floor tiles, leaving him speechless. That night, Alan asks Charlotte if she has any hobbies, but she says no. Apart from learning to be an obedient wife, she does chores like cleaning or embroidery, so she doesn't have free time. Charlotte's only happy memory was 2 months ago when her sister Natalia gave her fruit. Since she rarely gets to eat such good food, she was very happy. Hearing this, Alan frowns. During his time at the Magic Academy, he challenged teachers with questions every day, blew up countless classrooms, and enjoyed his school days. Yet at what should be the happiest time of life, Charlotte was treated like a servant and suffered many tragedies. From now on, he decides to teach Charlotte all the forbidden things in the world. The next day, he uses money from selling magical props to buy a bunch of items. Alan guesses that Charlotte is a straightforward and honest person who has never rebelled against the Duke's family because they adopted her, so she couldn't do that to them. The way she talks makes Alan feel like Charlotte is like an animal afraid of its owner. From now on, he will teach her forbidden things, make her indulge in pleasure, and live by instinct like animals. Charlotte worries that Alan plans to teach her illegal activities. But surprisingly, the first forbidden thing is a pile of cakes and sweets. They'll eat these tonight. Charlotte objects, saying that eating only sweets in the evening would cause nutritional imbalance. Surely at the Duke's house, she wasn't properly fed either. Alan brings Charlotte the most popular cake from the store, but she refuses, saying she cannot accept more of his kindness. Alan then says he is the master and orders her to obey, or else he'll place the death curse on himself again. Charlotte has no choice but to obediently listen. She invites Alan to choose what he likes, and she'll eat the rest. But he says he doesn't like sweets, so all the food is for Charlotte. Hearing Alan say he's doing this because he wants to make her happier makes Charlotte blush. As she takes her first bite, Charlotte bursts into tears, wondering if someone like her deserves such happiness. Alan moves closer to wipe her tears, saying he hasn't done anything yet. From now on, he will teach her all the pleasures in life, make her eat delicious food, take her around the world, until one day she can proudly say she is the happiest person in the world. With so many sweets left, Charlotte invites Alan to join her. Though he doesn't like sweets, he reluctantly agrees under her gaze and finds them quite tasty. He even feeds Charlotte, making her blush. Although he's not good at social interaction, he'll try harder from now on. Until yesterday, Charlotte was just a stranger Alan happened to meet, but somehow he wants to bring her joy. The leftover cakes from yesterday have been preserved by Alan's magic for Charlotte to eat each day. The next day, Alan wakes up to find he fell asleep at his desk without realizing it. He had spent the entire evening writing a list of forbidden things that would surely make Charlotte happy. But after reading it, he realizes it's full of bizarre things that only Alan would find fun. So he throws the book in the trash. Just as he steps out of the study, he meets Charlotte. She greets him good morning and notices he's been up all night working. Charlotte advises Alan not to stay up late as it's bad for his health. Seeing the broom in Charlotte's hand, Alan is surprised as he doesn't even remember where he put it. All the necessary places have been cleaned, and Alan didn't require Charlotte to do so much, but she still wanted to work diligently. While Alan is busy looking Charlotte up and down, she questions him, making him blush. Living in the Duke's house, there must have been servants, yet Charlotte was still made to clean and was treated poorly. This inadvertently causes Alan to make a very frightening face. Charlotte never speaks ill of others, even her family or her villainous ex-fiancé. If it were Alan, he would have beaten them all up. While lost in thought, he suddenly hears a voice outside. Alan remembers and rushes out, but it's too late. He introduces the girl as his newly hired maid. This cat-eared girl is Maicha, a delivery staff from the Satiros Delivery Company. All of Alan's parcels are delivered by her. Maicha says she thinks she saw Charlotte in a recent newspaper, making Charlotte tremble and drop the broom in her hand. But with the Satiros Delivery Company, the customer comes first, so she'll pretend not to know anything. By the way, today Alan wants to ask Maicha to deliver some magic potions to sell at the magic shop in the city. In the city, his potions are rated as the best. Although living in the city would earn him more money, he's an introvert and doesn't like crowded places. Because of his scary face, he was called the Dark Lord by the city people without even realizing it. Even the children play a courage test game, going deep into the forest to explore the Dark Lord's mansion. Even though Alan is living quietly, Maicha advises Alan to find a hobby or purpose in life, but he shouts at her, making her fearfully cover her head, afraid of being beaten. Alan asks Maicha if her company allows remote purchases. She takes out a bunch of advertisements and gives them to him to read. After reading for a while, Alan hands them to Charlotte. He's already bought all the daily necessities, so if she wants anything, she should make a list. After a while, Charlotte finishes choosing the items she needs. She promises to pay Alan back later, but Alan doesn't need it and threatens that if she doesn't choose, he'll buy everything in the advertisement. Seeing this, Maicha smiles brightly and advises Charlotte that if she doesn't like the Dark Lord's extreme personality, she should treat him like a punching bag and practice punching him freely. As Maicha is demonstrating for Charlotte, Alan suddenly gets an idea. He stops Maicha's hand and smiles, making her tremble with fear. The next day, the items Charlotte ordered have been delivered by Maicha, a small, cute bag. Alan's order, however, is a huge wooden box. Maicha is curious about what he bought it for. Of course, it's for use, but the user is not Alan but Charlotte. With a snap of his fingers, a punching bag for boxing practice appears inside. This will be the next forbidden thing for Charlotte. Maicha hears them talking about forbidden things and blushes, thinking the Dark Lord has perverse hobbies, which makes Alan blush too because he doesn't understand what Maicha is imagining. Alan sticks a picture of a man on the punching bag and gives Charlotte gloves, telling her to punch that man firmly and hard. Charlotte sees that the image on the punching bag is her ex-fiancé and feels a bit scared. But Alan encourages her that she doesn't need to endure silently and should express her anger. Endurance is very important, but release is also necessary. If you only endure, you'll eventually collapse. However, Charlotte says she's not angry at all. Despite being treated terribly in the Kingdom of Niels, having everything taken away, her dignity violated, and having no place to stay in the country. Yet Charlotte is not angry. She just thinks the prince must have had a reason. She owes a debt to her adoptive family and feels guilty that the prince had to be engaged to someone like her. Witnessing Charlotte like this, Alan's plan has failed. Initially, his plan was to make Charlotte recognize her hatred, then go to the neighboring country to expose the prince's wrongdoings, finally clearing Charlotte's name and capturing the villains. But unexpectedly, Charlotte cannot seriously face her own heart. She's used to suppressing her feelings, so even if the prince were convicted now, Charlotte would only think it's because of her that misfortune occurred. Seeing them like this, Maicha advises Alan to leave Charlotte alone for a while. Alan understands, but waiting for time to heal everything isn't his style. So he steps forward and tells Charlotte to punch him instead of the punching bag. Charlotte is confused, and Maicha trembles at Alan's perverse hobbies. But Alan has helped Charlotte too much, so she cannot punch him. However, Alan has no intention of letting her off. He snaps his fingers, causing the gloves in Charlotte's hands to suddenly light up and control themselves, making her punch Alan's face hard. Charlotte is terrified, but Alan proudly praises her punch as beautiful. Even if he's punched, trampled, or insulted in any way, Alan won't abandon Charlotte. In this mansion, she is free. Charlotte angrily scolds him, saying there's a limit to self-sacrifice. It turns out when she's angry, she really shows it. There is no wound Alan cannot heal, but he still has to endure the pain. Charlotte hopes he won't do this again because her heart can't take it. Until now, she has lived in fear of many things, but now it's okay. Charlotte will try to express what she thinks clearly, and Alan will always be by her side and watch over her. Maicha stands outside watching them like a spectator and smiles. She guesses that in the future, they'll need many things like a double bed, rings, and even baby items. When that time comes, remember to call the Satiro's delivery company. However, the two slow-witted people just look at each other without understanding anything. Today is a beautiful day. Alan asks Charlotte whether she prefers coffee or black tea. She says she'll drink whatever he's having. But Alan tells her that what he drinks is a super disgusting custom nutritional potion. Does she dare to drink it too? At this, Charlotte finally chooses black tea. Alan reminds Charlotte that she should be more honest. Until now, she hasn't been able to live according to her own wishes. Since being adopted by the Duke's family, the only decision she made herself was running away from that house. As they're drinking tea, suddenly a girl appears saying, "Found you," startling them both. She had traced this area from pollen stuck on a letter, then went around asking children if there was any eccentric sorcerer around. This girl is Iruka Crawford, the same age as Charlotte. She is Alan's sister, but not by blood. Alan was orphaned at a young age, so the Crawford family adopted him, and Iruka is their daughter. When Iruka misunderstands that Charlotte is Alan's girlfriend, they both immediately deny it in unison. Alan thinks that being misunderstood as loving a cunning genius sorcerer with a defective personality who doesn't fit into society like himself would make Charlotte feel sad, although Charlotte doesn't think that way at all. Alan begins telling Iruka about Charlotte's situation because even if he doesn't tell her, she'll figure out the truth anyway. After hearing the story, Iruka scolds Alan, calling him a big idiot for teaching Charlotte corrupting things like giving her food or letting her punch him. But what Iruka means is why doesn't he teach Charlotte many more corrupting things to make her happier? Iruka is very moved by Charlotte's past story. If there's anything she can do to help, she's ready to assist, because if Alan trusts Charlotte, then she must certainly be a good person. Today, Iruka came here to take Alan back home, but now she's taken a liking to Charlotte and wants to teach her forbidden things too. So the siblings start arguing about who would be better at teaching Charlotte corrupting things. Since it's been a while since they've had a contest, they decide to settle it with a competition. Iruka and Alan take Charlotte to a street. Then he uses transformation magic to disguise Charlotte to hide her identity. When they get back home, Alan will remove the spell right away. Black hair doesn't look bad, but Charlotte suits blonde better. He likes her best with blonde hair. It seems the young man doesn't realize he just said something flirtatiously lethal, making both Charlotte and Iruka blush. First, Iruka will teach Charlotte how to dress up. She believes this will make any girl happy. They take Charlotte to a women's clothing store. Although being there makes Alan very uncomfortable, he can't leave because he's competing with Iruka. Unconsciously, he recalls when he was young and newly adopted by the Crawford family. Iruka would challenge him time after time, despite always losing. Finally, Charlotte chooses an outfit. Compared to the dress she wore when they first met, this one suits her much better, although the dress seems a bit short, making Alan blush slightly. He stares intently at Charlotte's thighs, which appear quite full, probably due to proper nutrition. Feeling ashamed of his thoughts, Alan punches himself hard enough to make himself cough up blood to regain composure. Then Charlotte goes to try on another outfit, while Iruka comes out to have a private conversation with Alan. Because Iruka's father has acquaintances in the Kingdom of Niels, they could inquire about Charlotte's situation, while also investigating the prince and Charlotte's family. But Alan says it's not necessary right now. Although he's very concerned, for the time being, it's best to leave things as they are. Seeing her brother has changed, Iruka can't hide her pleased expression, because now her brother has learned to care for others. Just then, Charlotte pokes her head out from the changing room, asking Iruka to help with the hook on her back. Upon seeing Charlotte's back, Iruka's expression suddenly changes, though she tries to act normal. This outfit is even more revealing than before, with the back cut very wide open. Alan feels awkward at the moment, but when he sees the crisscrossing scratches on Charlotte's body, he freezes, though still trying to maintain his composure as he compliments her. Looking at marks like these, she must have been whipped, a type of torture that doesn't cut through skin and bone, only causing pain and fear. Whipping wounds disappear by the next day, leaving only marks like a curse, so victims don't pay attention to the scars. Unable to leave her like this, Alan uses healing magic to erase the scars on Charlotte's back. Charlotte feels warmth, but he just says her dress came undone and he was fixing it. Scars can be easily erased with simple magic, which means Charlotte wasn't even properly treated. Thinking of all the injustices Charlotte had to endure, Alan clenches his fist and tells his sister that he will destroy all those bastards and wants her help. Hearing this, Iruka immediately understands her brother's intention and agrees. Next, it's Alan's turn to choose clothes for Charlotte, but since he doesn't know anything about it, he randomly picks one with his eyes closed. Unexpectedly, he chooses a very revealing outfit, making him and the two girls blush. Now it's Alan's turn to teach Charlotte corrupting things. Today, he will teach her to spend money, buying things she likes without thinking twice. They stop at a teddy bear shop, but it seems Alan's taste is a bit strange, as he chooses bizarre things for Charlotte, leaving both girls speechless. After a while, they've bought many items. Charlotte feels very embarrassed because they're buying so many things for her, but Alan says they all suit her very well, making Charlotte blush and turn away. Thinking Charlotte isn't feeling well, Alan leans in close to check on her, making her even more embarrassed. Iruka calls her brother naive and criticizes his lack of aesthetic taste, saying the things he chose are too rustic, and most are chosen by Iruka. So they argue to the point where Charlotte has to intervene. But they are always like this and aren't about to fight or anything. Still feeling unsatisfied, Alan invites them to go shopping again. While walking, Iruka sees someone sitting on a magic car and eagerly runs over to ask about it, leaving the two behind. Alan takes Charlotte to a jewelry store. He buys her a hairpin the same color as her eyes. Charlotte says this is the thing that makes her happiest, causing Alan's heart to skip a beat right then and there. Out of nowhere, two thugs come to cause trouble. Alan remembers Charlotte's warning not to fight, so he plans to give them money. But the two say they don't want money, they want to borrow Charlotte for one night. They repeatedly say indecent things to Charlotte and even try to touch her. So Alan breaks the skinny one's fingers, and when the fat one draws his sword to attack him, he meets the same fate. If anyone dares touch Charlotte, he will certainly deal with them all without mercy. After handling these two, he feels very satisfied, but suddenly remembers Charlotte's teaching, so he turns back and bows to apologize for fighting. But Charlotte understands it was because he was protecting her, so there's no way she would fear Alan. It seems Alan has changed his behavior, and teaching her corrupting things has become his habit. At this moment, a giant appears, leading a group of street thugs. He asks if Alan just took care of his children. Alan steps forward to talk to the giant and tells Charlotte not to worry about him. He recognizes the giant as Megath, then pats him forcefully because he feels nostalgic. Being treated with such familiarity makes the giant very angry, and he punches the ground, shattering it. Only when Alan introduces himself as Alan Crawford from Athena Magic Academy does his attitude change. He kneels on the ground, apologizing for not knowing that he is the Great Dark Lord. The subordinates behind don't understand what's happening, wondering why their boss is afraid of someone who looks so weak. So Megath warns them not to provoke Alan any further. Charlotte doesn't understand what's going on. Iruka explains that her and Alan's father is the principal of the largest magic school in this country. Alan was a genius youth who graduated from school at 12, the earliest in history, and then immediately became a teacher. Charlotte is curious about the nickname Great Dark Lord that Megath is calling him. Iruka says that was his nickname when he was still a teacher. Alan allows Megath to raise his head. As for himself, he feels fine. But when he's about to mention Charlotte, who was bothered by Megath's subordinates, Alan suddenly stops because he doesn't know what Charlotte is to him, whether she's his servant or his second sister. After some thought, he tells Megath that she is the most important woman in his life. The next day, Iruka and Maicha come to Alan's mansion. But when they arrive, they find Alan sitting glumly in front of the house. Iruka suspects something happened between her brother and Charlotte. Being hit right on his weak spot makes Alan startled. Besides that, what else could possibly trouble him? The issue is that the previous evening, Alan had paid Charlotte her salary because it had been a month since she started working as a maid in his house. Charlotte didn't want to accept it because she thought she only did cleaning. But Alan said she didn't just clean, but also renovated the house, so the amount was completely reasonable. Seeing him say that, Charlotte reluctantly accepted the money. Alan advised her to try spending money, and if she needed anything, he would help. Charlotte said there was something she wanted to do. Go to the city alone. This was like throwing a piece of meat into a cage of beasts. After telling this story, Alan turns to find the two girls discussing a nearby bakery instead of listening to him. Iruka finds it strange because normally Charlotte is always patient out of fear of causing trouble for Alan. Indeed, as soon as she said it, Charlotte immediately retracted her words. But seeing her sad demeanor, Alan couldn't refuse. Iruka and Maicha think that Alan's problem is very easy to solve, just follow Charlotte secretly. Charlotte wants to go to the city to buy something, but keeps it a secret from Alan. He's very happy about this because having secrets shows that her sense of self has grown stronger. Following the map for a while, suddenly Charlotte stands there blankly. It seems she's gone the wrong way. Maicha says this is very dangerous because if she continues like this, Charlotte will reach the Mirror District, a place with very poor public security. The area near the entrance is controlled by the Serpent Fang gang, whose leader is a snake poison user named Glow. Iruka thinks they should pretend to accidentally appear and stop Charlotte. But Alan thinks this is her first adventure, so he doesn't want to interfere. Suddenly, he remembers something he needs to do, so he leaves this place to Iruka and Maicha and runs off. Indeed, Charlotte has strayed into the Mirror District and even encountered Glow and his gang. The two girls see Charlotte in danger and are about to rush to rescue her. But unexpectedly, Glow and his gang are holding a welcome party for Charlotte. It turns out that Alan had taken action in advance, defeating them and threatening that if Charlotte came, they must treat her politely. No wonder they all look so battered. It seems she has noticed this too, as she asks about their health and gives them healing medicine, moving Glow and his companions to kneel on the ground, calling Charlotte a goddess and promising to change their ways and live honestly from now on. Glow is curious about her relationship with Alan. Charlotte thinks and then says that she had nowhere to go and was hired by him as a servant, so to her, Alan is her master. The thugs, hearing this, begin to suspect that their goddess has been deceived by Alan, or more accurately, threatened. On one side is the terrifying Great Dark Lord. On the other is a goddess who is gentle to everyone. They seem completely mismatched. But Charlotte thinks the thugs misunderstand something. She even adds that Alan taught her corrupting things and they did it all night long, making the thugs blush. Then Charlotte thanks them and says goodbye to Glow's group. However, Charlotte is moving deeper inside, where it's more dangerous. But that's not a problem because Alan only needs to subjugate this entire district under his command. Thus, after just one session, there are no more threats. They also no longer need to protect Charlotte. Now Alan can't follow Charlotte anymore because she wants to buy a secret item, so Maicha will follow her alone, while Iruka and Alan stay behind to wait. That afternoon, Maicha returns and reports that Charlotte's shopping trip went safely, and she is about to arrive. Alan curiously asks what Charlotte bought, but Maicha says she didn't peek. Right after that, Charlotte runs up, with the hair accessory shop owner following her. While walking on the street, she heard people telling good stories about Alan. Iruka never expected that her brother's actions to protect Charlotte would help so many people. The shop owner thanks Alan, but he says it was only for personal reasons. The shop owner is very happy that Charlotte has such a good boyfriend, but being misunderstood as lovers, Alan tries to explain but is interrupted by the shop owner. Then she says goodbye to everyone and leaves. Now, Alan shyly asks Charlotte about her shopping trip. She smiles brightly, saying the trip was great, then takes out what she bought. These are products from the newly opened general store, gifts for Iruka and Maicha. Alan sees that he doesn't have a share and can't help but ask. Charlotte says that she searched for many things but didn't know what to buy for him. If it's from Charlotte, he would like anything. Charlotte apologizes because he has helped her so much. Yet she's been insensitive. She's only been receiving without knowing what Alan likes. So for now, she will help Alan mend the hem of his cloak. And during that time, Charlotte hopes he can tell her what he likes so that next time she can properly choose a gift for him. Hearing this, Alan blushes, certain that this time together will be worth more than anything else. Charlotte has finished reading the book Alan chose for her. The book talks about the Athena Magic Academy where Alan and his sister studied. The school is so large that the combined number of students, teachers, and staff is approximately equal to the population of a small island. Alan asks Charlotte if she's interested in going anywhere else, which makes her very happy if she says she likes a place. They'll go there tomorrow. Indeed, Charlotte knows this. She's already received so much help from Alan, and now he's offering to take her on a trip, which makes her feel quite embarrassed. She likes the moments spent with Alan in this mansion the most. Besides, occasional indulgence in forbidden things is fine, but if she does them all the time, she'll become completely corrupted. Alan finds this reasonable. He only wants to make Charlotte happy, not lead her astray. So Alan tries to tempt Charlotte in another way. He tells her about things they can do while traveling, such as eating delicious food, visiting tourist attractions, and even bathing in hot springs. Upon hearing about hot springs, Charlotte immediately takes the bait. Alan tells her to just say where she wants to go, and he'll make that wish come true. But she still insists on keeping it a secret because she's afraid of bothering Alan. So he has to resort to his death threat trick again. Just then, Maicha suddenly barges in from somewhere with a special delivery for Alan and Charlotte, a two-person trip to the Unoha region. So the next morning, they sit in a horse carriage for 3 hours from the mansion to reach Unoha. Unlike the mountainous kingdom of Niels, this place is a very peaceful plain. This area is rural, so it seems the warrant for Charlotte's arrest hasn't reached here yet. Being able to go out without disguise like this feels like a dream to her. Charlotte wonders if it's okay for Alan to go with her instead of Iruka. It seems Iruka has some business and will be leaving the city for a few days, so it's fine. But they don't know that this trip was arranged by Iruka and Maicha. There was no real invitation. They used money from the support association to buy hot spring tour tickets for the two, as Alan and Charlotte's distance from each other was frustrating to watch. Through this trip, they'll definitely make progress. At this moment, Charlotte pokes her head out and sees they're about to reach their destination. The place is mentioned in the book. It's the most popular 3-star resort in the Unoha region, offering many services such as delicious food, massage, and hot springs. Could it be that the place Charlotte wants to visit most is this hotel? Charlotte glances around for a moment, then confirms, so Alan immediately knows she's lying. He tries to turn to the next page to deduce what Charlotte really likes, but she closes the book. She also likes hot springs, but the place she wants to go is somewhere that children like to visit, so she feels very embarrassed. So Alan tempts Charlotte by saying that growing up and being able to freely do things one couldn't do as a child is wonderful. Besides, he won't laugh and call her childish, so she can rest assured wherever it is, he'll go with her. Finally, they arrive at the resort. Looking at this place makes both of them interested in the hot springs. Suddenly, Charlotte trips and falls, so Alan catches her. The tour guide thanks them for choosing this hotel for their honeymoon. Being misunderstood as a married couple makes Alan and Charlotte very embarrassed. It turns out that their tickets are a special package only for couples and spouses. Alan also realizes he's been set up by Maicha. The tour guide says that if they're not satisfied, Alan can change to another ticket. However, this is their most premium package, so ladies are usually very pleased. Seeing this, Alan swallows and accepts, while Charlotte's face turns completely red. Afterward, Alan takes Charlotte's hand for a walk around. The welcome drink is included in the couple's package, so there's only one straw. Charlotte becomes increasingly embarrassed and starts to wobble, and our protagonist isn't much different, so he drinks the entire glass in one go. They go to the hot spring area that the hotel is very proud of. Since it's an outdoor bath, both men and women need to wear swimwear to enter. Since they don't have swimwear, the tour guide takes Charlotte to the changing room to try on some swimsuit models. After a while, Charlotte has changed into a swimsuit and steps out, causing Alan's heart to stop. Witnessing Alan's expression, Charlotte thinks she doesn't suit this swimsuit. He hurriedly explains, but his eyes are drawn to Charlotte's extremely large chest, making him awkwardly back away a few meters before complimenting that it suits her very well. They enjoy a day together at this resort, ending with soaking in the hot spring while watching the sunset. Just then, the ice cream that Alan ordered is delivered. Eating ice cream while soaking in hot water is also a forbidden thing. Alan enchants the ice cream so it can't melt even in the hot spring, then watches Charlotte eat it deliciously, which makes him very happy. Seeing them eating ice cream, people around also order ice cream, then bring it to Alan, asking him to enchant their ice cream so it won't melt. He's in a good mood, so everyone can bring it over. In the evening, they dine at the hotel restaurant. The tour guide thanks Alan because thanks to him, today's ice cream sales have tripled. The hotel offers to support tomorrow's plan for this married couple. Alan doesn't stand on ceremony and asks her about tourist attractions. There are many famous places around here, including a hill where one can see Fenrir. Fenrir is a noble magical beast. Rumor has it that whoever sees it will have good luck. However, now is the season when they're busy taking care of their young, so they rarely come down from the mountains. So the tour guide suggests they visit the Unoha Magic Zoo. As soon as Charlotte hears about the zoo, she immediately shows interest, so the protagonist immediately understands where she wants to go. Their bedroom is very spacious, with a view of the sea. Going inside, both blush with embarrassment when they see the love bed already prepared. This bed also allows them to choose their dreams. It seems tonight Alan and Charlotte will have to sleep together. Because they need to get up early tomorrow, both turn off the lights and go to bed early. But of course, a man and woman sharing a bed like this makes it difficult to sleep. Charlotte wants to dream of her deceased mother, so Alan uses light hypnosis to help her quickly fall into sleep. After seeing Charlotte sound asleep, he sits up and looks at her. To avoid doing anything wrong, Alan uses the forced sleep spell, which causes Maicha and Iruka, who were eavesdropping outside, to faint as well. The next morning, Alan wakes up to find Charlotte with tears in her eyes. She met her mother in the dream and told her many stories, including about Alan. Meanwhile, the night before, a water guinea pig was standing on the mountaintop under the moonlight, asking whether Alan could protect Charlotte or not. They've arrived at the Unoha Zoo, where Charlotte wanted to go. However, what Charlotte likes isn't the giant animals, but the tamed animal area. As a child, she had read about them in picture books and wanted to see them someday. Seeing that Charlotte doesn't ask for anything, Alan pretends to have a heart attack. So she has to beg him to buy 2 cat ear headbands and wants him to wear one with her. Although very embarrassed, he reluctantly agrees for fear of making Charlotte sad. In the tamed animal garden, there are all sorts of cute creatures. Suddenly, a sign appears saying that here there are also hellish water guinea pigs. When hungry, they go crazy and can destroy an entire mountain. While they're wondering about this, a tour guide comes and assures them that the water guinea pigs are now resting deep in the forest. Alan turns to ask Charlotte if she likes it and sees her trembling while clinging to the fence. Thinking something's wrong, it turns out she's trembling because the animals are so soft that she feels like crying when touching them. Having seen such a paradise, Charlotte feels she has no more regrets. Seeing Charlotte so happy, Alan invites her inside to play with the magical beasts. He secretly goes to talk to the magical beasts, asking them to play with Charlotte, promising to buy food for them later. But there's no need for Alan to bribe them. The other magical beasts have already attached themselves to Charlotte. By the way, Alan tells Charlotte that in this world, there are countless types of magic and special skills, including those that require innate talent. Alan also has innate talent in magic, so he can use magic without incantations. Charlotte probably has a talent as a beast tamer who can understand and command magical beasts, as she attracts magical beasts so well without any training. Perhaps that's why Glow and his gang the other day were tamed by her. Having witnessed this scene, the tour guide runs to them asking for help with a helpless matter. The zoo director sees that they are too young and looks down on them. But when he recognizes Alan, his attitude immediately changes. His subordinates also look very pleased, believing that if it's someone from the Crawford family, then they can rest assured. The issue is that a Fenrir has been seriously injured. It's not only lost its mother, but seems to have been beaten by poachers. Fenrir is an endangered species. Even just injuring them can result in imprisonment. Their skin and bones are high-quality materials for making magical tools, so they're always poached. This is the first time this park is caring for a Fenrir. Because no one understands it, getting close enough to use healing magic is difficult. Even when Alan tries to approach and talk to it, it still acts very fierce. While they're not sure how to handle this, the tour guide from earlier rushes in to report that the mother Fenrir is approaching this zoo. Although the staff used magic to erase their traces when rescuing the baby Fenrir, this proves that the mother Fenrir's magic is very powerful. Fenrir is famous not only for being rare, but also for the pure power of their lineage. If it's an individual over 100 years old, destroying a city is as easy as turning over one's hand. Now, if they quietly return the baby Fenrir, its mother will think they are kidnapping and beating it. With no other choice, Alan has to temporarily stop the mother Fenrir, although this is a very risky task, but for him, it's his specialty. In the meantime, the zoo staff must evacuate visitors to prepare for contingencies. Charlotte remembers that Alan said she has talent as a beast tamer, but Alan says this is too dangerous and advises her to drop the idea. However, if nothing is done, Charlotte can't bear it. So she hopes he will allow her to talk to the Fenrir. Alan also trusts Charlotte and tells the director to let her talk to the baby Fenrir. After all, there's no other way, so they set to work. Outside, Maicha and Iruka are enjoying sunbathing when they hear an announcement that a herd of Fenrirs is approaching, requiring urgent evacuation. But they complacently think that with Alan here, there's nothing to fear. Just then, Alan teleports behind them and says, "Indeed, you two are here, and just in time I need your help." If the rumor that seeing a Fenrir brings good luck is true, then Alan must be very lucky to see a whole herd like this. First, he sets up a barrier to protect the Unoha resort. Now, he needs to stall until Charlotte can persuade the baby Fenrir. Alan uses the ice-binding spell to restrain the Fenrirs, when suddenly the ground beneath his feet shatters. The mother Fenrir appears and swallows him into its mouth. But fortunately, Alan manages to use the paralyze spell and escapes. Alan tries to talk, but the mother Fenrir won't listen. Out of options, he plans to use magic to deal with it, but is stopped by the water guinea pig from the night before. If he injures the mother Fenrir, then mother and child cannot reunite, and Charlotte would feel very sad. This hellish water guinea pig's name is Gosetsu. Its purpose is to help the girl who is with Alan, and it forbids him from casually calling Charlotte's name. Gosetsu had escaped from the magic zoo and wandered everywhere. Later, it met Charlotte when she fell from the cliff. While thinking of ways to save her, Alan appeared and took her away. Afterward, Gosetsu followed the two of them all along and realized that to protect her, it needed to eliminate Alan. Without many words, Gosetsu immediately rushes to attack Alan. It will release its sealed power and destroy Alan, then destroy the entire kingdom of Niels. Gosetsu has also colluded with the Fenrirs to attack him. Facing a hellish water guinea pig and a herd of Fenrirs, even the Great Dark Lord isn't sure he can handle it smoothly. Just then, Charlotte has finished treating the baby Fenrir's wounds. She and the magical beasts from the zoo run to Alan. She's also not sure why she can understand the language of magical beasts. Even Alan had to spend half a year to understand a bit. Charlotte translates the conversation between the Fenrir mother and child and learns that they've misunderstood Alan. So now they've shifted their target to the water guinea pig. Gosetsu tries to persuade Charlotte that if she goes with it, it will help her take revenge, while following Alan will only bring misfortune. Charlotte immediately objects because Alan has given her peaceful days, and she doesn't allow Gosetsu to speak ill of him. Seeing that persuasion doesn't work, Gosetsu plans to use force to take her away. However, it doesn't know that Alan has had to restrain himself from invading that country so many times. He wants Charlotte to decide for herself and doesn't want to hurt her feelings. Then Alan gives Gosetsu a punch and then heals it. Gosetsu also realizes it shouldn't bother two young people who love each other, as evidenced by the thing on Alan's head, the cat ear headband. Alan says that the person with the greatest merit in this case is Charlotte, but she thinks the person who treated the baby Fenrir deserves the most credit. Nevertheless, if Charlotte hadn't talked to the baby Fenrir, things wouldn't have gone so smoothly, so he hopes she will be proud of her contribution. And so, this hot spring trip ends peacefully. The injured Fenrir from before wants to follow Alan and Charlotte home. Fenrir moves very quickly, so from Unoha to Alan's house takes only 1 hour. His mansion is spacious, so the more family members, the merrier. Charlotte blushes when she realizes she's considered a member of Alan's family. To make amends for causing trouble, Gosetsu also follows them to be Charlotte's bodyguard, despite Alan's objections. Upon returning home, Charlotte goes for a walk with Lou, who appears very close to her but looks down on Alan. Since the trip, the Fenrir named Lou has become a member of Alan's household. Gosetsu teases Alan, saying that with Lou's appearance, the time he spends doing things with Charlotte has decreased, so he must be very sad. As for Gosetsu, it considers itself part of Charlotte's family, so it doesn't plan to leave either. It says that Alan also seduced Charlotte just like it did, making Alan blush. He quickly explains that it's only family like love. Although it is a bit lonely, the goal of making Charlotte happy has been achieved. That evening, Charlotte asks if Alan could properly teach her to become a beast tamer. Seeing her so enthusiastic, he is very supportive. Afterward, Charlotte studies very diligently, even taking the initiative to learn more knowledge to the point where she spends time preparing lessons and reviewing until late at night every day. Today, Charlotte will practice with Lou, first running through obstacles, then returning to the original spot and jumping over her head. Witnessing this, Alan can't help but praise her, because no beast tamer understands Fenrir to this extent. He compliments her as a genius, worthy of being his cute disciple. Gosetsu stands outside teasing that if he wants to call Charlotte cute, he should just say it directly. Alan tries to compliment Lou, but almost gets bitten. Lou is scolded by Charlotte for trying to bite people, which makes it look dejected. Gosetsu notices that she has reached a level where she can convert the speech of magical beasts into human language. Speaking of which, Alan wonders how Gosetsu can speak human language. Gaosetsu says it's because it's old and has learned by itself. There has never been a precedent for successfully using beast conversation magic on Fenrir, but Charlotte still wants to try. Then, Charlotte casts the spell on Fenrir. This spell consumes a lot of mana, but Fenrir still shows no reaction. Alan encourages her, saying it's natural that she can't use this magic yet. But suddenly Lou says, "How dare you touch Mama," making Charlotte very happy because Lou can talk. Lou itself is also very happy to be able to talk to Mama. Afterward, Alan uses magic to create a specialized bathtub for Lou. But before it can bathe, the water guinea pig has already bathed first. If Alan has any intention of discriminating against water guinea pigs, then Gosetsu will use magic to transform itself into a sexy girl, so they won't be able to drive it away. Seeing his family having fun together like this makes Alan feel very peaceful. Compared to when she arrived, Charlotte has changed a lot. Seeing her happy like this makes Alan's heart feel strange. It's time for Charlotte to finish bathing, so Alan snaps his fingers and a towel falls on her head. The two sit side by side, and Charlotte thanks him for everything. Alan also tells her that before he came here, this mansion had another occupant, but he never met them. The person who lived in this house 30 years ago was an eccentric elf who never went into the city, never had contact with humans, and was stuck at the desk all day. Then one day, she suddenly disappeared. Rumor has it that she jumped off the cliff after many failures, or was eaten by a monster she created. Thanks to these numerous rumors, Alan was able to buy this mansion at a cheap price. Turning around, he sees Charlotte, pale with fear, speechless, pointing at the bathtub. Somehow, a bunch of mushrooms have appeared in the bathtub. Suddenly, an elf emerges from underground, accusing them of stealing her mushrooms. After hearing their explanation, the elf invites Alan and Charlotte to come down to her basement. She introduces herself as Dorothea. It seems Dorothea has lived here for a long time, but Alan didn't sense her presence at all. Alan introduces them as living in the mansion above, and Dorothea says that's her house. That's when he realizes that this is the elf who disappeared 30 years ago, and she herself is surprised that it's been that long. Dorothea is a dark elf. Among elf species, dark elves are a rare, especially superior species, almost only existing in legends. They don't need to eat or drink and can live for hundreds of years just by absorbing magical energy from the air. Since the former owner is still here, Alan starts thinking about scenarios where they would have to legally dispute the right to use this house. To protect the happiness of the family members, he will claim this place at any cost. So Alan addresses the issue directly, hoping Dorothea will cede the mansion to him. He thought there would be a dispute, but unexpectedly, she agrees immediately because she prefers the basement. She doesn't even want money, just asks for his help. Alan prefers to use money to resolve things quickly, but Charlotte sees that Dorothea is in trouble and wants him to help. Both Lou and Gaosetsu agree. Dorothea is a writer who writes across many genres, from horror and mystery to history. She was once praised by literary circles, but one day, when she was about to write a romance novel, Dorothea fell into extreme depression. Even at the deadline, she couldn't write a word and was pursued by her editor. So to escape the deadline, Dorothea imprisoned herself in the basement for 30 years. Alan is about to refuse to help when she whispers in his ear, threatening to reclaim the mansion, which forces him to change his attitude. After 30 years, Dorothea's depression has disappeared, and she wants her work to make everyone in the world happy. A jaded young man and a lovely young lady, this couple will certainly be well received by everyone. So the first thing Dorothea asks is for them to flirt with each other right here. Alan and Charlotte are acting out a play conceived by Dorothea. Charlotte asks Alan why he bears the Crawford surname, so he says he would give up the name Crawford for her. Then Charlotte steps forward and jumps down beside him. As they gaze at each other intently, Dorothea asks them to stop. It turns out that Alan is using magic to carry Charlotte without touching her with his hands, because the princess carrying position makes him feel very awkward. Since the two can't flirt on their own, Dorothea has prepared a script for them. Yet they still can't act properly. Dorothea says they can't even do this much. She hasn't asked Alan and Charlotte to kiss yet, which is fortunate for them. Although he really wants the mansion, Alan decides to refuse to help Dorothea anymore, thinking that surely Charlotte also feels uncomfortable. Unexpectedly, Charlotte doesn't think so if it's with Alan. She doesn't mind causing him to bang his head against the wall to stay calm. Seeing his face bleeding, Charlotte quickly approaches him. But this only makes Alan blush more. This natural flirting scene is exactly what Dorothea needs for her script. After patching his wound, Charlotte encourages Alan to try together, which makes him feel a bit more uplifted. Dorothea gives the two a new script and tells them to just act according to it. Just seeing the words, "newly married," makes Alan's face completely red. According to the script, Alan will play a husband who has just returned from work. However, after saying the first line, he is asked by Dorothea to redo it because his tone was too boring. As for Charlotte, she plays a wife who stays at home cooking, waiting for her husband to return. She asks Alan if he wants to eat first, bathe first, or does he want her, which makes Alan unable to bear it and cough up blood. Dorothea scolds Alan for deviating from the script, but he blames her for writing too corrupt a script for Charlotte. Acting again. Today Charlotte showcases her cooking skills with a vegetable stew. From the beginning until now, Charlotte has been the best performer. Suddenly, she scoops a spoonful and feeds Alan, making him blush completely. Before he can swallow, she calls him a tan, causing Alan to spit out all the soup in his mouth. This ruins the scene for the third time. Dorothea instructs him that not only should Charlotte call him a tan, but he should also call her She-Tan. Next is the school scene, in which both Gaosetsu transformed into a human and Lu will participate. Alan plays a lonely delinquent. One day, Charlotte, his childhood friend, is captured by villains. To save her, Alan charges alone into enemy territory, but is stopped by delinquent female student Gaosetsu and her pet Lu. He is beaten badly by the thugs, only fighting back when Charlotte's life is threatened, punching the thugs hard. Alan apologizes to Charlotte for fighting, but since he did it to save her, Charlotte isn't angry. Charlotte stands up to wet her handkerchief, but is stopped by Alan. According to the script, at this point, he should pin her against the wall, lift her chin, and kiss her. But he doesn't know how to do it, so he slams his hand and breaks the wall. Just looking at Charlotte makes Alan's heart race chaotically. Too embarrassed to confess his love, he instead declares himself Charlotte's protector, ruining the script again. To hide his embarrassment, Alan can only say he thought this line was better and changed it. Charlotte is very kind, so if Alan confesses, she would try to respond even if she doesn't want to. Next is the story of Cinderella. Although Charlotte is still interested, she says they can stop if Alan is tired. He claims he's still very energetic and can continue acting. Dorothea gives them the script. Alan will play the role of the prince on a white horse, Charlotte will play the unfortunate princess, Gaosetsu will play the wicked stepmother, and Lu will have a much-loved role. After the roles are assigned, they begin acting. According to the script, Charlotte is the child of a concubine, mistreated by her stepmother every day. Charlotte sadly remembers the peaceful days in Alan's mansion. The stepmother constantly finds fault with Charlotte and orders her around, while she goes to attend the royal ball and forces Charlotte to clean the mansion before she returns. While Charlotte is feeling very unfortunate, suddenly the fairy godmother Lu appears and magically gives her a beautiful dress to attend the ball. Among all the gorgeous, haughty ladies, only Charlotte interests the prince. Charlotte privately thinks Alan looks very handsome in his prince attire. The prince invites her to dance, but Charlotte says she has never danced before. Coincidentally, neither has he. So the prince takes Charlotte's hand and steps up to dance. He tells Charlotte to look up because that's the only way they can be in rhythm together. Immersed in the dance melody, Charlotte feels her heart racing and unconsciously leans into Alan's embrace. Just being with Alan makes Charlotte feel very happy. Dorothea praises Charlotte as an excellent actress, while Alan is just so-so. Gaosetsu and Lu pour water for Charlotte, while Alan faces discrimination. Charlotte notices this and says if he doesn't mind, he can drink from her glass, making Alan blush. Now for the final scene, Charlotte returns to her daily life, trying to forget the sweet evening with the prince, but the prince comes to find her. Suddenly, Alan realizes that Charlotte has been staring at him all this time. Seeing him notice, she quickly turns her face away, embarrassed and not understanding what she's thinking. The scene begins with the prince finding a hairpin and looking for the person who dropped it. The wicked stepmother Gaosetsu sees this and falsely claims it. But how could she fool the prince? The person he's looking for is a girl whose eyes match the color of this hairpin. The angry stepmother leaves. Suddenly, Alan sees Charlotte standing in the corner. Her eye color matches the hairpin perfectly. Today, the prince has come to take her away. But how could someone like her have the qualifications to be with the prince? However, no matter what happens, he will not let go of her hand and vows to protect her at all costs. Charlotte asks about the prince's feelings for her. Alan is about to answer when a strange man breaks through the wall and barges in. It turns out he's Dorothea's editor, who has come to take her back. The man also politely compensates for damaging the wall, then takes Dorothea away. All this time, Alan has been holding Charlotte tightly to protect her without realizing it. Only when she reminds him does he embarrassedly let go. Charlotte awkwardly wants to know what Alan was about to say, but they're both too embarrassed to continue. Just then, Iruka rushes in with news that Charlotte's sister, Natalia, is in trouble. Remembering the past, Charlotte was exploited until her hands were completely red. The servants would deliberately bump into her when passing by, then pretend to apologize while bad-mouthing her behind her back. With her mother dead, Charlotte had no one to rely on. She was adopted by the Evans family, so she had to endure. Only Natalia still called her big sister, secretly giving Charlotte medicine and telling her to use it. Natalia wanted Charlotte to read books to her, but unfortunately, she still had many chores to do that day. So the child had another wish, to be closer to her sister. Natalia wanted Charlotte to call her by name when they were alone. Back to the present, they are sitting on a boat floating in the middle of the ocean right after hearing that Charlotte's sister is in trouble. Charlotte's sister, Natalia Evans, has the same father but a different mother, is 10 years younger than her, and is the legal heir of the Evans family. In the Kingdom of Niels, Natalia is Charlotte's only ally. Last night, thanks to Alan's magic, Charlotte slept very well, even dreaming of her sister. Iruka notices that her brother has recently been keeping both a Fenrir and a water guinea pig, saying that if their mother saw this, she would be very happy, as she is a pioneer in magical beast research. It's been 3 years since Alan last returned home. The black building in the distance is actually just a dormitory, while the Athena Magic Academy is this entire island. Most people on this island are related to the Magic Academy. Natalia is also on this island, but because the situation is quite complicated, Iruka plans to explain further when they get home. Upon hearing going home, Charlotte feels flustered, needing to prepare mentally to meet Alan's parents. But the person who really has a problem is Alan, because 3 years ago, he quit his job at the academy on his own and had a big argument with his father. That argument has now become a folk tale for the people on this island. Gausetsu teases Alan for being able to return home despite disagreements for the sake of the girl he loves. Charlotte feels a bit envious because she has never argued with her family, so that seems wonderful. But Alan encourages her that she'll soon see her sister again. Just then, in the distance, 2 students are arguing. While no one dares to intervene, a white-haired man steps forward and with a light touch, freezes both of them. This man turns out to be Harvey Crawford, Alan and Iruka's father. Harvey feels very reassured because Alan hasn't changed at all after all this time. Unexpectedly, he's even brought such a cute girlfriend, which moves him deeply. Alan tries to explain but is stopped by Iruka. She wants to use this to cover up another matter, and he understands her intention, about to turn and remind Charlotte to cooperate. Charlotte also understands and addresses Alan's father, saying that they are dating. When asked a few questions by Harvey, Charlotte says that Alan is very good to her, always teaching her corrupting things. Harvey thinks this is very good because if he marries Charlotte, Alan will have to live and work properly. Hearing about marriage makes the couple blush, but Alan still has to pretend to avoid being exposed, while Charlotte's face is already so red it's about to smoke. By the way, Alan also announces that they will settle at the mansion permanently and have no intention of returning home. The thing is, Iruka's father is the principal of the Athena Magic Academy, and he wants to hand over this position to Alan. Although becoming the head of the oldest and best magic academy would be an honor recorded in history books, the position comes with restrictions. Alan doesn't want to be bound by such things, so he declined. Harvey even says he's showing favoritism because, despite not having a blood relationship, he still chooses Alan as his successor. But Alan tells him to stop lying. The truth is that he wants to push the responsibility onto Alan. Just then, a pink-haired girl brings in tea, making Charlotte think this is Alan's sister, but she is actually Alan's adoptive mother, Lyslot Crawford. Harvey doesn't hide anything and admits that the reason he wants to push the responsibility to his son is that he wants to retire and spend his days pampering his wife. Seeing her son bring a girlfriend home, Lyslot sits down to talk with Charlotte. Getting straight to the point, Charlotte's sister, Natalia, is currently studying abroad at this academy. The Evans family is quite chaotic right now, so the child went into exile in the form of study abroad until the troubles subside. This happened 3 months ago, but Natalia lied about her identity, so they only recently learned that she is Charlotte's sister. Then Iruka shows them the homesick mirror, which is a magical tool that reflects images from elsewhere. The mirror shows Natalia being surrounded by a group of students. Alan plans to rescue the girl, but as soon as he turns away, he hears a loud noise. He turns back to see that Natalia has just beaten up the group of students. She orders them to go buy yakisoba, even severely insulting them, saying that they can't satisfy their master with such small errands. It turns out that after 3 months of studying abroad, Natalia has become the leader of a top faction in the academy. The school could use force to suppress this, but Harvey wants to call Alan back to handle it because he was once a problem student himself, so the two would surely get along well. Charlotte is very alarmed because Natalia has become a bad child. But that's not entirely true. The extra money from buying yakisoba, Natalia gave to her subordinates. The child knows that her subordinates work many part-time jobs and send money home. If she can't feed her subordinates, what kind of big sister would she be? Charlotte is very happy that her sister's kindness hasn't changed from before. However, when at home, the child was not like this. She worries that her sister has changed because of her, and Alan also regrets that it seems to be one of the causes. The school respects the freedom of students, but Natalia's case is going too far, so Harvey hopes that Alan can persuade her to calm down and attend classes diligently. Alan can't ignore this and says to leave the problem student to him. Seeing this, Harvey takes the opportunity to persuade him to return to the academy and claim the principal's position. Seeing Charlotte's anxiety, they will forge identification documents for her. Charlotte will enter the academy as Alan's assistant. The most sisterly thing Charlotte has ever done for Natalia was to read books to her. Yet the child still calls her big sister, since they also want to start tomorrow. Alan plans to rent lodging outside, but his mother stops him and says she has prepared rooms for everyone. Alan refuses because he thinks suddenly staying at someone else's house would make Charlotte uncomfortable. But turning around, he sees that her expression doesn't show any disagreement. Indeed, this room only has one bed. Alan is very afraid that his mother will discover they are lying about dating, so he doesn't dare to disobey. Charlotte is now very embarrassed and says that since they have to get up early tomorrow, they should both go to sleep. All night, Alan tosses and turns, unable to sleep. He apologizes to Charlotte because they shouldn't have lied about dating. But her face doesn't look like she's suffering at all. To overcome this situation, Alan plans to use the forced sleep spell. But after several attempts, it doesn't work. It turns out this bed has been fitted with magic nullifying material. Iruka secretly thinks this night will be very long. After lying awake for a long time, Charlotte asks Alan about his family. His parents seem very close, like an ideal relationship, which makes her a bit envious. Hearing about an ideal relationship, Alan starts thinking about scenarios where he's intimate with Charlotte and they call each other nicknames. Alan nervously asks Charlotte if he should treat her the way his father treats his mother. But she says they're only acting, so there's no need to go that far. Charlotte asks Alan what he was going to say during the final scene in front of Dorothea. At this point, he thinks he should be honest with her. For him, just waking up to see Charlotte, greeting each other, drinking tea together, watching flowers grow, walking and shopping together is enough. As for Charlotte, she has been taught many corrupting things by Alan, eating meals together, wishing each other good night, and repeating the same the next day. Though both have the same thoughts, they're each afraid of bothering the other, so they both consider this a corrupting thing. Feeling awkward and not knowing what to say, Charlotte speaks first. She apologizes for confusing Alan and tells him to go to sleep early. The next morning, Alan transforms Charlotte into a secretary. This time, he also has her wear a pair of glasses to satisfy his preference, but lies to her that it's to prevent being recognized by acquaintances. At school, the two carefully observe Natalia sitting alone reading a book. That evening, as Natalia is gathering with her subordinates, Alan steps out and calls her. Immediately, Natalia assumes a ready stance, surprising him because she's only been learning magic for 3 months. After hearing him introduce himself as Alan Crawford, Natalia's subordinates immediately recognize him as the infamous problem student of this academy, the one who could instantly disable hundreds of opposing teachers and students, who blew away an entire mountain after fighting with the principal for 3 days and 3 nights. He is the great Dark Lord of the Magic Academy. Alan introduces the girl accompanying him as his assistant, Charlotte. Alan directly states that his purpose for coming today is to guide the problem students, but Natalia flatly refuses and leads her subordinates away. Charlotte bursts into tears because she finally got to talk to her sister. However, Alan says this is just a greeting. In the future, Charlotte will play together, gather around the dining table, and occasionally argue with Natalia. Hearing this, Charlotte can't hold back and sobs loudly, making the students around think Alan is bullying her. The next day, they sit with Natalia during class. Alan asks if she understands the lesson because it's quite difficult. Unexpectedly, the girl stands up and immediately proves that the formula written on the board by the professor is wrong, making Charlotte admire her because she doesn't understand any of this. Natalia mocks Charlotte, saying that as the great Dark Lord's assistant, she doesn't even understand such basic knowledge. Alan has to defend her, saying she's new, so when she took on this mission, he made her learn magic from scratch. By the way, Alan suggests that Charlotte should ask this prodigy to teach her, but Natalia responds, "What does it have to do with me?" Charlotte agrees that they shouldn't bother the girl with her studies, but if she has free time, just teaching her a little would make her so happy she'd faint. Natalia thinks this sister is quite strange, so she reluctantly agrees to teach her a bit. After class, Natalia asks Charlotte why she's learning magic. She replies that she has been protected by Alan and everyone for a long time, so she also wants to become stronger. "If there's anything you don't understand, just ask me," Natalia responds. Just then, Gaositsu and Lu bring food prepared by Lyslot for the two of them. The students are shocked to see that Charlotte can control both Fenrir and Hellish Water guinea pigs. If you can make 2 rare magical beasts obey you, why do you need to study magic? During the meal, Charlotte is curious why Natalia's portion only has French fries and a hamburger. She gets up and goes to get a salad. Natalia wonders why Charlotte cares so much about her. It doesn't feel like it's just because of work. Alan says that at home, Charlotte also has a sister Natalia's age, so she probably sees Natalia as a sister too. Natalia suspects Alan was sent by the Evans family, but he denies it. Natalia's family is a typical nobility in name only. Both her father and mother are the pragmatic, selfish, and worthless type. The girl is studying magic to become independent from her family. Alan is about to discuss Natalia's elder sister when the girl becomes angry, telling him never to mention that topic in front of her. As Natalia is about to leave, she's stopped by a male student named Chris, who challenges her. Soon there will be a decisive battle between the two sides. Just then, Charlotte has also brought the salad, but she trips and falls. Chris's subordinates see this and insult her, so Natalia rushes over and delivers a kick to each of the two guys. Now there's no need to schedule anything. Let's fight right here. But Alan stops her because this is the canteen, and fighting is not allowed. Natalia is angry because Alan ignores when his assistant is harmed, but Alan has never said to let them off. He snaps his fingers to create a super space barrier, trapping everyone inside. The weakness of this type of barrier is that it can be broken by defeating the person who created it, so all of Chris's group rush toward Alan. Alan also demonstrates to Natalia 3 important points in a fight. First, cut off the enemy's retreat. Second, don't miss any of them. And the most important point, thoroughly break the opponent's will so they never dare to confront you again. As Alan is speaking while forming a giant ball, it's suddenly broken by someone. It turns out to be Charlotte, angry about him fighting. Afterward, Natalia and Alan are taught a lesson by Charlotte, making them both kneel and apologize. Charlotte's successful use of magic she just learned will certainly make her more confident. Alan also understands that Natalia doesn't fight because she likes it. She just wants to help the weak who are isolated. Natalia is also tired of fighting Chris's group. Hearing this, Alan wants Natalia to do something. "Don't tell me you're asking me to make friends with Chris," she says. But no, he wants her to dominate this academy. Today, Iruka has finally met Natalia, who is currently learning and practicing how to dominate the school as the Great Dark Lord instructed. By defeating the faction leader in his area of expertise, Natalia will certainly have no opponents in this school. The battle between Natalia and Chris will be a race to see who can get the flag deep in the dungeon and escape first. Alan will show Natalia some tricks that don't break the rules to help her win. They smile a frightening smile that even makes Charlotte afraid. Unexpectedly, Natalia wins and comes out 30 minutes early. Suffering a humiliating defeat, Chris's group angrily leaves. There's another dungeon nearby, but the boss there is in breeding season, so it's temporarily forbidden to enter. Just then, Natalia's subordinates run over to boast that they've defeated all those who once ordered them around. Being praised by their big sis moves them to tears. Currently, Natalia's subordinates are being taught by Gaosetsu. Natalia's stomach is also growling after a long day, so they head to the canteen to discuss the next plan. For dinner tonight, Charlotte makes Natalia eat a large bowl full of vegetables, although visibly reluctant when she hears that Charlotte prepared it because she thought Natalia liked it. The girl reluctantly eats the entire bowl of vegetables in one go. Charlotte praises Natalia for eating so well, saying there's still plenty, so she should eat as much as she wants. Witnessing the two sisters becoming close makes Iruka and Alan very happy. However, he can't tell the girl about her elder sister yet because earlier, when mentioned, she became very angry, so they're being careful now. As for Natalia, she shyly wants to teach Charlotte more magic. If she doesn't like it, then never mind, but how could Charlotte not like it? That evening, Natalia is tired and falls asleep, so Alan carries her to her room. Inside, there are so many books they're even piled on the bed. Suddenly, they notice a strange bag at the head of Natalia's bed. Her subordinates say it's Natalia's important bag, and anyone who touches it will be beaten. This bag is sealed with magic and uses biometrics to open. If forced open, traps will activate. Just then, Chris comes to deliver a challenge letter. But seeing Natalia is asleep, the boy leaves. Even in sleep, Natalia holds the bag tightly. Only now does she look like a normal child. Charlotte remembers how she used to read books to Natalia, and the girl would always fall asleep halfway through. Now Natalia has grown up so much. Indeed, Charlotte thinks she shouldn't use her full name anymore. She has talked a lot with Natalia, but the girl doesn't say anything about her family. Charlotte doesn't want her sister to recall those terrible memories. Seeing this, Lou comes to comfort Mama. Alan and Gaosetsu also encourage her to let time solve things rather than rushing to conclusions. Charlotte understands and will wait longer. Alan will always stay by her side until the relationship between her and her sister returns to how it was before. The next morning, Charlotte wakes up earlier. She gets ready, trying not to make noise to avoid waking Alan, then goes to Natalia to learn magic. Today, Natalia teaches Charlotte a spell to summon an explosion. After studying diligently, she learns it. Charlotte happily thanks Natalia, and they high-five very warmly. Afterward, they sit resting on a stone bench. Natalia praises Charlotte for having talent. If she continues practicing like this, she will certainly make even more progress. Charlotte asks Natalia to teach her again tomorrow. making the girl recall the happy memories before she came to this apprenticeship. Suddenly, Natalia says there's something she wants to show Charlotte. But when they return to the room, the girl searches the entire room without finding her precious bag. They find Chris's challenge letter on the table. If she wants him to return the bag, she must go alone to the designated location. If you want to fight, sister here isn't afraid of anyone. Natalia wants Charlotte to keep this secret from Alan. She wants to go there alone, then turns and runs away. On Alan's side, Natalia's subordinates have come to report that the bag and Natalia have disappeared. Even Lou can't smell Natalia's scent left behind, and Charlotte is nowhere to be found either. Just then, Chris's subordinates frantically run to Alan, begging him to save their big brother. Chris had called Natalia to the Forbidden Dungeon. Originally, this dungeon could be conquered by students, but currently, the dungeon boss is in breeding season and very irritable, which means they're in danger. In the dungeon, Chris stands on the other side, calmly throwing Natalia's bag deep down because he knows it has been enchanted to protect it from damage. This place isn't interfered with by teachers, so they can freely compete. Whoever gets the bag first wins. It turns out that in the past, Chris was called a prodigy at the academy until Natalia transferred in. Since then, from studying to practice, Chris has lost completely to Natalia, shredding his pride. Last night, Chris overheard about the bag and came up with the idea to steal it. The Dark Lord instructs the children to stay behind while he goes to rescue the other two. By now, Natalia has won, but Chris still hasn't given up. Suddenly, a strange noise comes from the dungeon. It's the Chimera, the dungeon boss. Seeing its frightening appearance, both immediately run away. Remembering their small statures, they hide behind a pile of rocks. The book says that if a loud noise is made, the Chimera will be startled and run away, so Natalia plans to use magic. While sitting there, Chris feels water dripping on his head. Looking up, he sees the Chimera's tail has found the two people. It pounces down to devour them both, but Chris uses a spell to scare it away. But now the main body of the Chimera approaches. It stomps once, causing the earth and rocks to shake, burying Chris under rocks. Natalia tries to run away, but is struck by a blow that makes her fall. Just as Natalia is about to be trampled, there's suddenly a loud explosion that frightens the Chimera away. It turns out Charlotte used the magic she learned this morning. Seeing her sister injured, Charlotte rushes over to bandage her. Natalia wonders why Charlotte would risk her life coming to this dungeon. She answers that she's worried about Natalia. No matter how powerful her magic is, she's still a child. Natalia asks Charlotte, "You also have a sister, right?" Then hugs the bag tightly to her chest. At this moment, Alan finally arrives in a rush, saying the real boss of this dungeon isn't the Chimera but the Salamander. If they wake it up, things will be very dangerous. Charlotte is curious about what's in Natalia's bag. The girl asks if she has heard the Dark Lord story about the Evans family. Charlotte says she knows that she committed a grave crime, but Natalia loudly protests. "My sister wouldn't even dare kill an insect. How could she do something so horrible? That rotten prince must have set her up." And yet the Evans family chose to abandon her. The ones Natalia hates are the Evans family and herself, for not being able to help her sister. Since birth, her elder sister had always been kind to Natalia, but somehow the girl could do nothing while witnessing her sister being whipped. The girl planned to grow up and help her sister, but now it's too late because she has disappeared. Afterward, all of Charlotte's belongings were thrown away, leaving only this bag. Through magic, the girl learned that her sister was still alive somewhere. Natalia wants to quickly find the person holding her sister and beat him up. But every time she uses magic, she's blocked by some powerful force. Somehow, Charlotte and Natalia are strangers, yet she gives the girl a nostalgic feeling. Chris has also regained consciousness and heard everything. He apologizes to her, not knowing she had such circumstances. Just then, a loud roar comes from the dungeon, and a giant salamander appears. Charlotte says she'll hold it back, asking Chris to help Natalia go outside to find Alan. But the girl absolutely refuses to leave her alone. Charlotte throws an attack at the salamander, which responds with a blow that knocks her unconscious immediately. At this moment, Alan appears and protects her. Seeing Charlotte injured, Alan uses a spell that makes the entire island shake. Harvey, who is above, recognizes it's Alan and just hopes the school doesn't collapse. With just a glare, the salamander is thrown back, hitting its head against the rock wall. It naturally becomes obedient and becomes Alan's pet. At this point, Lyslot appears and says this place is off limits to students. Only magical beast professors like her are allowed in. As for that salamander, Alan has raised it since it was small, so it considers him its papa. Outside, Chris is also seriously serving his punishment from the principal. Charlotte regains consciousness in Alan's arms. He removes the transformation spell, returning her to her blonde hair. Natalia has also recognized that this is her sister. Charlotte apologizes for hiding this from her sister, fearing it would trouble her, but Natalia only confirms if she is really her sister. Charlotte recites the content of the book she used to read to Natalia as proof. The girl then takes out that exact book from the bag, and the two embrace each other, apologizing for not being able to help each other in the past. As for Natalia, she finally agrees to call Alan teacher. Unexpectedly, he has been taking care of her sister. Charlotte says that Alan is not just her benefactor, but also someone important to her. The two animals come over and say they are dating. Hearing this, Natalia changes her view of Alan. It turns out that from the beginning, his approach to her sister had a purpose. At this point, Alan's parents also realize that the dating was fake. Iruka apologizes for lying. However, the love between those two is real. They just don't know when they'll finally express their feelings to each other. After many days, they finally return to the mansion to enjoy a peaceful time. Alan regrets one thing. Why did Charlotte want to clarify his feelings that night? She also wants to ask Alan about that night. But just as she's about to speak, Mayacha interrupts. Today's package delivered by Mayacha doesn't have the sender's name. Opening it reveals a magic formation that opens a summoning spell. Alan quickly tells Charlotte to hide behind him when suddenly Natalia jumps out and kicks Alan straight in the face. It turns out this is a prank by Mayacha and Iruka to create a surprise. But looking around, Natalia doesn't see her teacher anywhere. He's lying flat under her feet. Natalia intends to continue taking her teacher's life right there, but is stopped by her sister. Just then, Dorothea runs over for help. Iruka and Mayacha also recognize her as the famous novelist. Dorothea has a gift for them, her newly released novel. The novel is selling very well. It's based on Alan and Charlotte's love skits. So today Dorothea wants to come here to see how they've progressed. Because her editor is rushing for the next part. Dorothea wants to hide in this mansion, but Alan refuses, fearing the walls will be broken again. But the two girls keep begging him to let her and Natalia stay for one night. Natalia insists on staying here to monitor and prevent her teacher from teaching her sister corrupting things. That evening, the water guinea pig Gosetsu treats everyone to a sumptuous feast, and everyone eats, drinks, and chats happily together. That night, Charlotte dreams of the past when her mother misunderstood her for stealing things at home and she was locked in a dark basement. Although Charlotte hates darkness, pain, and loneliness, in this place, no one can harm her, making her feel more comfortable than outside. Just then, Charlotte hears him calling her name. It's Alan. He rushes in, breaking through the darkness in front of her. He comes to rescue her from this place. Charlotte suddenly wakes up and realizes she was just dreaming. She's sleeping with Natalia, not with Alan at all. She goes to the living room and sees Alan still sitting reading, not yet asleep. She asks permission to sit with him. Alan says this is a good opportunity for them to do corrupting things together, that is, lighting a lamp and drinking hot cocoa while watching the stars in the sky. The two keep talking about the stars in the sky, then unconsciously move closer to each other. Alan accidentally touches Charlotte's hand, making them both embarrassed, but unlike before, this time Charlotte takes the initiative to hold his hand back and says she has never felt uncomfortable about this. So the two hold hands and gaze at the starry sky together. Recently, Charlotte always looks forward to daybreak, wondering what happiness Alan will show her today. She feels so lucky to have met Alan. Alan carefully wraps the blanket around Charlotte lest she catch a cold. Their eyes meet, and their lips gradually move closer. Charlotte has already closed her eyes waiting for what is about to happen when suddenly Alan discovers some mice watching secretly, ruining the entire atmosphere. Charlotte is blushing, and Alan tries to explain. But with their hands still intertwined like that, what explanation could there be? While life is peaceful, the kingdom of Niels receives news that Charlotte has been found. The prince orders his subordinates to immediately go and capture her. And so, our Dark Lord's journey to bring happiness to Charlotte temporarily comes to an end.